We all have been in situations where we wanted to explain or we wanted to share something very uncomfortable with a person very close to us, and we didn't. We just kept it inside us. Or we did it in a very messy way, and we regretted even telling something like that to this person. And this person can be a family member, a partner, a friend. And what we usually struggle with telling is maybe sharing a feeling or expressing a different opinion. So we tend to avoid uncomfortable conversations. Hi, I'm Vasya Sarandopoulou, your psychologist, and I'm here to share these little details about our psychology and our mental health that we don't often hear about. Let's talk today about why we avoid uncomfortable conversations. Again, let's go first into explaining what we mean with uncomfortable conversations. Uncomfortable conversation can be when we're asking for something, when we're asking something that we're not 100% sure of whether we deserve it, whether we're going to take it, or whether the other person agrees that we should have it. It can be asking for money. You lent your friend some money or a family member, and now you want your money back. And it's so uncomfortable to go and ask for your money because you think that maybe you will be considered as insensitive, or maybe it's too early, or maybe the other person struggles still. All these overthinking, difficult conversations and overthinking, they go by hand. Or asking for a promotion, for example. You don't know whether you're ready for the promotion, and your manager, your boss, your supervisor, your coach hasn't given you a clear sign that you are ready for the promotion. Or you want to have a challenging conversation with your partner about how you're going to split the finances now that you started living together. That was one of the questions that I heard in one of the live sessions, in one of the sessions with the members of the academy. So asking for something can be tricky, can be really uncomfortable for us. We know that we're going for a mental sweat. We are ready for that. Another difficult conversation is when we are expressing feelings. For example, you want to tell your partner that what they said the other day was really hurtful, and you keep thinking about it. Eventually, you don't say because you know that when you say that, your partner will get defensive, and then they will not understand, and then they will get back to you, and they will say something hurtful to you. And then all this peace and harmony that you have worked really hard in order to achieve goes out of the window. So you end up thinking, why do I bother? Why would I change this hardly earned peace and bring some conflict again? Well, let's skip that. Another difficult conversation is when you want to express different opinions. You're talking with your parents-in-law, for example, and they're sharing something that completely contradicts your values and your beliefs, or your opinion about the world, about climate, or about the war, or about politics, or philosophy. And you want to say what you believe, but at the same time, you know that you are playing with some sensitive dynamics there. You're playing with relationships that they are already hanging from a very thin thread. So again, you skip the conversation, but then it doesn't go anywhere. It just stays inside you, and it's bothering you, and it's bugging you, and you cannot let it go. You cannot forget it. You become bitter, you become passive aggressive, you become resentful, or you and being too stressed around these people, too vigilant. You see that these conversations, they are coming together with a skill that we have talked so many times, the skill of boundaries. When we know how to set boundaries, we can have difficult conversations more easily. When we want to set boundaries, but we don't know how to do that, or we are still scared of setting boundaries in the relationships that we're in, we tend to let go of these conversations. So you see that the umbrella, the overarching umbrella, is boundaries. And that's the main reason why I'm focusing so much on boundaries. That's why I have created this extensive course on boundaries, which we can find in the academy. That's the reason. It's all about boundaries. Healthy relationships and boundaries, they go hand in hand together. So then let's go to the why. Why is that so complicated then? Why it's so difficult? Let me talk to you a little bit about brain. When we are thinking that we are going into a conversation, that there's going to be some conflict and disagreement, our brain gets into the alarm mode. Why is that? Because for our brain, disagreement means that the relationship is at risk. If you disagree with your partner, with a family member, with a friend of yours, with your colleague, with your manager, how sure are you that this will survive the disagreement? This is what our brain thinks, huh? That's not necessarily true, but this is what our brain thinks. How sure are you that you're going to survive the hit, the crush? Because that's how it's perceived by our brain. It's going to be a crush. So our brain immediately, when it starts thinking in this way, it goes into the alert mode. And it means that we are starting to think based on the fear and all the worst case scenarios, all the scary scenarios, which is the activation of the amygdala and the deactivation of the prefrontal cortex, which is the center of rational thinking and rational decision. And that's why when we go into uncomfortable conversations with fear, we tend sometimes to say things we don't mean. We tend to mess up the whole conversation. We tend to completely derail the conversation and talk about things that are not important. We're not thinking clearly. That's exactly what happens. Because amygdala activated, we're all thinking of all the worst case scenarios. Our brain is thinking of all the worst case scenarios, and it's trying to protect us. We're not thinking with our prefrontal cortex, no rational thinking. Makes sense. So why all this happens? This is, of course, the brain language of what happens during uncomfortable conversations. But why are we really afraid of conversations? First of all, we don't know how to have these conversations. We don't know how to start. We don't know what to say. We don't know how to continue these conversations. We don't know how to explain ourselves. We don't know. We only think that we have to go there and defend ourselves. We have to go there and fight. And who wants to start fighting every day? So we don't know how to have a peaceful conversation, uncomfortable yet peaceful. We don't know how to explain ourselves without getting defensive, without criticizing the other person. We don't know that. We only think that uncomfortable conversations is about fighting. Also, we are afraid of hurting the other person. That's why we don't do it. We are afraid that if we say something that it's uncomfortable for the other person, they are going to cry, they are going to get upset. It's not going to be a nice feeling for them. They're going to be sad. Or we're also afraid that they will react in a way that we cannot handle. It's not only that they cannot handle the conversation, we're also afraid that we cannot handle the conversation. So we're thinking, what if they get upset? What if they start calling us names? What if they also bring up the things that we have done wrong in the past? And then it's a competition of who is wronger than the other. And of course, it's even more uncomfortable for us, especially if we have past experiences where anger was really threatening and dangerous for us. If we have lived in families or we have experiences with partners where anger was becoming an aggressive behavior, that's why we are afraid that the other person might get upset, might get angry. Makes sense. Another reason is that we don't want to change what other people think of us. Well, if I'm going to say something that the other person doesn't like, maybe they will not think that I'm a nice person anymore. Maybe they will not like me anymore. Maybe they will not want to hang out with me anymore. Maybe our relationship will pay a high price because of that conversation, right? So you see how we overgeneralize and how we catastrophize uncomfortable conversations, bringing disaster into our lives. The fifth reason why we avoid these conversations is because we don't know what to do after the conversation. if indeed we hurt somebody, we don't know how to make amends. If indeed we made somebody upset or sad, we don't know how to comfort them. We're not comfortable in comforting them. We don't know how to continue the conversation. If, for example, somebody is upset and we need to take a break from the conversation, we don't know how to continue that. We don't know how to say, well, we don't know what to do now. Let's discuss it another time. We don't know how to say, let's take a break now and then continue with that. I will help you sort it out. I will help you find a solution. We don't know. And sometimes it's not that we don't know, it's our brain stopping us thinking that there's a next step. There's something that you can do after that. Even though these conversations might bring distress or tension or discomfort, yes, there's something that you can do after that. You can handle it. That's the information that our brain doesn't give us. Even though uncomfortable conversations are uncomfortable, they're so necessary. We cannot grow in our relationships. We cannot move on in our relationships. We cannot test our relationship. We cannot see whether our relationship is really strong or not if we don't have these conversations. They are absolutely necessary. And I'm going to follow up with another video where I will explain steps that you can take, tips that you can use in order to make uncomfortable conversations a little bit more comfortable. It will not be a happy conversation for sure. It is an uncomfortable conversation. That's it. But I will give you some tips how to make it a little bit more comfortable next time. So let me know, what is your uncomfortable conversation? What is the difficult conversation that you're avoiding? What was maybe a difficult conversation that you have been avoiding for too long? And let's continue that conversation. And if you want to also learn how to build boundaries, how to have conversations around boundaries, please have a look at the course, Setting Boundaries, Taking Control of Your Life. This is a course full with tips on understanding boundaries, because there are so many details about boundaries that we don't know, and how to explain boundaries in simple steps. There are many steps that we need to take, even before explaining our boundaries. So you can find them all there in the course, Setting Boundaries, How to Take Control of Your Life. I hope it helps. Thank you very much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe in my YouTube channel. And then let's continue the conversation in the comments. Have a good day and take good care of yourself.